This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri. I am your host, covering everything sport, international, local. Hope you're having a blessed day wherever you're tuned in around the world, whether it's 95 FM, Pulse95Radio.com, our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, or even if you're chilling at home watching us live on the YouTube. Wicked to have you here with me today on the Halftime Show in the heart of Sharjah. Right, what's coming up today? Okay, health and fitness. Has 2020 changed the way we are looking forward to 2021 New Year's resolutions? Some people believe in them, some people don't. How do you feel about it now that you've experienced the global pandemic throughout this year, which let's say it happened from about, February time? So it's kind of really switched the way we think, the way we've adapted to things. So I'm going to be asking you that question today. 4215 Ittasalat Urdu, or slide into my DMs at Omar Al-Duri and let me know, how are you going to strategize your new year? And we're nearly there, you know. It's 6 weeks away now from New Year's? Whew, it's crazy. 2020 is something that a lot of people want to forget, but not everyone wants to forget that, because a young 16-year-old, Yusufo Mokoko, becomes the youngest ever player in Germany to make his debut. So that's going to be fantastic, talking about that. Obviously, football is happening. Sharjah still top. Spurs stun City. Leeds delay Arsenal. And Barca lose to Atletico. But that's not all we're talking about today. We're answering your questions. 4215 Ittasalat Urdu. Start into my DMs. Here's some tunes for you. Come through. One of my favorites. And we'll be right back after this. Here we go.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri. I am your host, covering everything sport, international, local. We dropped that question in the beginning of the show. Has 2020 changed the way we are looking forward, and I say forward, to 2021? Obviously, the global pandemic has hit us all, but has that put health and fitness in the limelight, right there where we cannot ignore how important our health is moving into 2021? It's only 6 weeks away. I've had some great comments dropped in already, especially from my RBO crew, Ish and Terry. So Ish said, my goal is to stay consistent throughout the next 6 weeks and carry the positive energy into the next year. And Terry dropped one saying, life is about balance. Surely, if this year has taught us anything, live for now and make the change you want. So great comments coming in. Shout out to Amal as well, and Laka, man like Tariq, who's here in the building on the Instagram live at Omar Al-Duri. This is the thing about the whole pandemic thing. When it first kicked in, we kind of thought this is going to happen for a month or two. Obviously, people are still in lockdown, and we still have to respect the fact that we have to social distance and we have to do, the necessary to do our part as a society. But saying that, if anything, health and fitness has been magnified in the current 2020 year. And this is why 6 weeks away, and we are looking at, and we are highlighting how important health and fitness is now. But what are you guys going to do differently? This is my question to you. Because before, we used to get to December, you obviously have the holidays, you've got Boxing Day, Christmas, then you have New Year's, etc. And people take some time off for that. The only thing with that is when you get put into that, you then have to reset everything you've done, because you're kind of recovering from the holidays. Now, when you come into the New Year's, that's something that, it's so important to be able to kind of put in perspective, because if anything, it's taught us, when they took away the gyms, people wanted to get back into gyms. When they took away going outdoors, people wanted to get outdoors. Right now, there are ways around it. We know that we can still be active. We still can be healthy. There's so many factors here that we can bring into perspective. But one of the most important things, and this is something we talk about a lot on the show, is mindset. And what are you going to do to be able to help your mental fitness to be prepared for 2021? Do you believe in New Year's resolutions before the pandemic hit? And if so, what is it that you're going to do differently this time? That's kind of what I'm looking at. And I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on that. From my side, a lot of the time, getting into a gym or going to work out wasn't necessarily the problem. The problem was, for me, was mentally getting yourself ready to be able to tackle that to the best of your ability, albeit in hand with your own challenges, your own circumstances, the things that you have to go through. Mental health and mental fitness is something that the world has almost been, let's say, punched in the face if you didn't know about mental health and if you didn't know about the seriousness behind what goes on in the mind, what goes on in the brain, how that can affect everything. Now it's that time where you can reset the mind to get it ready. Small factors we've spoken on the show, decluttering, being able to prepare yourself mentally, sleeping properly, having the room in the right smell or fragrance when you come into the room, cleanliness. You know, so many factors are now coming into that, which has caused us to be able to appreciate and value, you know, exactly what we need to do to get ourselves in the right mindset. These are the factors that I put forward out there for you guys. Coloring books, reading. You know, we've spoken about how Jim Quick has spoken about brain coaching, brain activities, how reading for the mind is like exercise for the body. It's so many interesting things that you can put in perspective. Are you reading? If so, what are you reading? We know that the Sharjah Book Fair just finished recently. Did you grab any books? If so, what would you recommend? Shoot them my way. Hit me up on Instagram at Omar Al-Duri, or even 4215 Itisalat, or do slide into my DMs and let me know. Coming up next, what were you doing at the age of 16 when you reached a milestone? It could be something very, very similar. So it's simple. Someone might have started swimming at 16, maybe rode a bike. I know some people say they do it a lot earlier. But what was it that you did that was different at 16? Yusuf Makoko becomes the youngest ever player in Germany to make his debut at the age of 16. And is Germany the new hub of talent? Can we take notes from that? That's coming up right after the break. Enjoy.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Salam, welcome back to the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international and local. Thank you very much for locking in with me in this fine hour here in the heart of Sharjah. Wherever you are around the world, whether it's Denver, whether it's UK, whether it's Saudi, whether it's Egypt. Thank you everyone for connecting with me on pulse95radio.com, 95 FM, and also at my Instagram, Omar Al-Duri. Don't at me. Right, okay, so the question I asked for today, in the next 6 weeks, have you strategized what you're going to be doing to get you kick-started for 2021? Now, some people might say it's still early, still got a long time for that. It's actually round the corner. So what are you doing differently? We've had some great things coming in. Masoud, who's on the Instagram, said something which was really cool. He said, if we do think about in different perspective, there's a positive impact of 2020. That is, you're able to spend that quality time with your family. So 2020, also a pandemic, helped in that way, which I thought was brilliant, by the way, Masoud. It's very, very good. Now, what were you doing at the age of 16 when you reached a certain milestone? We've got Laka, who's in the room as well. We've got Almas, who's in the room on the Instagram, who are keeping me company in the commercials. What did you do at that age that made you think, yes, it's the first time I've done it and I've smashed it? Yusuf Makoko becomes the youngest player ever to make his debut in Germany for Borussia Dortmund. Now, some people might say, yeah, that's Germany or whatever. To be able to put that in perspective, what are we thinking at the age of 16 when you come on as a substitute and you make your debut in a senior league professionally? That is incredible. He came on for Haaland, who just scored 4 goals. As you know, he was won the Golden Boy recently award, which is amazing. Really, really happy to see that. Almas says teenagers are now the role models for adults. We face incredible pressures at 13 and 16, etc. when performing on the adult stage. Very good. But it's also something that teenagers learn a lot, but also teach a lot. And they teach a lot because at that stage, there's more focus, there's more hunger, and there's not as many restrictions, if that makes sense. I say that because I've watched very, very closely. I've watched how the youth in many, many different sports act. And a lot of the times they're not susceptible to the distractions that adults are, which is why they have a very impressive mindset. And Almas is someone that's been on the show before, and she, if I'm not mistaken, wanted to be a neurosurgeon, I think. I didn't even know what neurosurgeon was at that age. At 13, that's amazing. The minute, Almas says, the minute we make one mistake, we are instantly dismissed as immature. See, again, there's so many interesting things in the way that we think because everyone is different. Laka says the teenagers in Germany are double my height and size. Yeah, when you think about Haaland, who's 20, he's huge. But Makoko came on the other day and made his debut, which I was very happy with. In fact, I sent him a message last year inviting him on the show because I was scared he'd make his debut before he he got that message. Qasim says, teens have a maturity for this generation that the adults can look up on. Very, very true. It's scary how, you know, we say kids grow up very quickly, but also in the generation that they're in, there are so many factors that perhaps it might make me sound like a dinosaur, but we didn't have the forms of technology and everything that they're, you know, open to now, which has its pros and cons, of course. And having spoken to Angelica, shout out to Angelica as well, and Tanya, who are the parents of two of my guests that used to be on the show, it's so interesting what importance the family have in terms of support. And that's not just for, you know, family members who are alive. It's also family members that have passed away but have left their legacy and a responsibility for their kids to be able to live up to. And that's something it's so huge. And if anything, the pandemic has taught that, to be appreciative and to be grateful for what we have, to be mindful for what we have, and to be, you know, lucky to be alive right now. And this is something that I genuinely believe is so important in 2020, coming into 2021. Linking that to the first segment that we spoke about when it came down to what are you doing differently, setting yourself up for 2021. Very, very important in the next 6 weeks to get our minds right so our bodies can follow. Think about that and let me know. Qasim's still coming in with the comments. He says the German league is probably the one league to give a lot of youngsters the chances they deserve. Dortmund is a prime example. The moment you feel immature is exactly the moment you tend to be in the layer of maturity, says Masoud. And also, guys, why is it that Europe, or specifically Germany, is like the hub of development? I'm very, very interested to hear your thoughts on that. I've heard so many players, even Jude Bellingham recently, at 17, leaving the UK to go to Germany. What is it about Germany that's special? 4215 at Salat Urdu. Coming up next, we're doing a roundup of Sharjah, Spurs, City, Leeds, Barcelona, AC Milan, Atletico, and the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95.
This is the halftime show with Omar Al Duri on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the halftime show with Omar Al Duri. I love the fact that Nia Saleh can keep me company here, especially at the halftime show during commercials. She made me some desserts today, which is great. And also we got the whole Pulse 95 family in here as well. Shout out to Raf as well, who's in the building. You got Mikey, you got Sama, and you've got, of course, Ray and everyone else here who is locked in with us on the halftime show. Right, okay, so in the first segment, we spoke about 2021 is 6 weeks away, people. 6 weeks away for you to get yourself in the right mind frame, mindset, if I didn't spill my words right, and get yourself ready mentally to tackle a new year. And some people want to see the back of 2020. I'm sure you guys do too, but it's time to reset your mind to get yourselves ready for the new year. In the second segment, we spoke about Yusuf Makoko, 16-year-old sensation who just made his debut in the Bundesliga. What were you doing at 16 that was a milestone for you? Now we're talking about the roundup of, oh man, it's hard for me to say this, but Shadi wants me to say it, and he's a regular listener, so I'm going to do it for him. Tottenham beat City, Manchester City, Mourinho beats Pep, and all of a sudden there is a lot of gas behind Tottenham as they lead the Premier League on goal difference. They're joint top with Liverpool, leading the way on 20 points after 9 games. Can they sustain it though? That is the question. A masterclass, a pragmatic approach, or just same old Jose? That's going to be happening so far. Are people genuinely looking at Tottenham as title contenders? Having looked at the top 6 so far, some would have not predicted that Spurs would be in first, Liverpool would be in second, Chelsea would be in third, Leicester in fourth, Southampton in fifth, and Everton in sixth. Who would have thought? Even looking about it, Aston Villa fans, shout out to Jody as well, who's a big Aston Villa fan, and also Simon Hoodie, who's a big Aston Villa fan. They must be loving it. The style of football, without spending as much money. As we normally know, the industry now requires a lot of money. What's impressive about these teams I've named, specifically Southampton, Aston Villa, West Ham and Crystal Palace, is that they are using their resources to be able to bring in players from the lower leagues and players that are out of favour with their clubs to be able to adapt to a system to compete in the most expensive, most dynamic league in the world. This is something that I really, really think is remarkable in coaching. When you look at a team and I don't know if you saw that movie, The Replacements, with Keanu Reeves and who was it? Yeah, Keanu Reeves was in there, where he brought players that they were misfits in different places to put in. Looking at Aston Villa, how incredible have they done this year so far, and the style in which they do it in. It's not just because Emi Martinez is in goal. It's not just because our friend on the halftime show, Tyrone Mings, who is turned his career into something remarkable. He used to work at a call center, if I'm not mistaken, and I had the privilege of meeting him a year ago. Huge guy, by the way. Very, very nice person, and he has not only made it in the Premier League, he's made it on the international level and is now at England international. So when I look at people like that, hard work does pay off, especially having been at the clubs he's been at, worked at the jobs he's worked at, and now is one of the leading centre-backs in England. So massive, massive credit to Tyrone Mings. Then we move into the midfield. You look at McGinn, you look at Ross Barkley, who hasn't reached the heights, admittedly so, at the clubs he's been at. Looking at Everton, looking at Chelsea, and now he's formed a great trio with McGinn, Barkley, and Grealish in the middle. Fantastic. You've also got Louise in there. Wow. I'm so impressed when I look at teams like that. It's so nice to see how well these teams are doing, especially the ones that aren't the regular names. So your Arsenals, your Man Uniteds, your Manchester Cities have normally stolen the limelight over the last 15, 20 years. Obviously, Liverpool and Chelsea. Leicester won the league as well. But what's nice about this, and especially, if I can say his name, Hassan Hutel for Southampton. A year ago, they lost 9-0. They are now sitting 5th in the Premier League with 16 points after 8 games. And they could be 3rd tonight. That's what I love about the sport. We never can predict what's going to happen. And this year has been crazy this year, as Carson tells me. And Tariq says 100% they will bottle it. I hope so. I really, really hope so. I hope they will bottle it. I really, really hope they will. Looking at the rest of the leagues, you've got the UAE Pro League that's happening. Sharjah, again, really, really good after 6 games. 6 wins, 18 points with a plus 11 goal difference. And Al-Wahda are behind them, but behind them by a distance, having drawn 1 and lost 1. With 4 wins, 13 points. So a nice little 5-point gap there. Sharjah just beat Al Nassr, and that was a huge game at the Sharjah Stadium. Reason why is because to be able to eliminate the points from those who are around you, around about where Al Nassr are sitting in 3rd at the moment with 13 points as well, it's really important psychologically to get yourself on a good run. And that's why here we're hoping that this year, it fulfills what it needs to. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, 10 goals in 6 games. The 39-year-old sensational is doing some incredible things and at the highest level. AC Milan are, really representing at the moment. They're doing some great things and he's leading it. Barcelona lose to Atletico Madrid. That's another thing which is good. Messi, will he be there next year or not? Guardiola said he won't be coming to City, or at least he hopes he stays at Barcelona. I don't know the psychology of that. You guys let me know. Leeds are probably one of the toughest teams to face, albeit results can be quite deceiving. Marcelo Bielsa, again, a masterclass against Arsenal. By far the better team than Arsenal, and also having had Pepe with a silly headbutt to get him sent off, I think Arsenal played better. Right, okay, coming up after the break, we answer your questions. We take and think the question of the day: has 2020 changed the way we are looking forward to 2021? Do you have any New Year's resolutions? What are they? And what will you do differently next year? Stay tuned, we've got some Stormzy rainfall. Enjoy.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Al-Duri on Pulse 95.
Salam, welcome back to the Halftime Show. Thank you very much for tuning in with us today. Okay, great. So far we've had some very, very cool segments on the show today. In the first segment we spoke about, has 2020 given us the indicator of what we need to take into 2021, having taken away the gyms, the lockdown, the global pandemic. There were so many things. Some people are still going through that at the moment now, looking at people that obviously are here on the Instagram Live who have experienced it with us on the halftime show throughout the year. We're 6 weeks away from 2021. What are you going to be doing differently mentally to get you physically in check? That's one thing that we want to find out. Shout out to Zara and Ish and Terry and everyone who's tuned in all over the world. We've had Saudi, we've had Egypt, we've had Denver, we've had the UK, we've had everyone tuning in, and I'm so happy that you could spend this hour with me. It's almost full time, but before we go, having looked at what's happened so far, there's a lot of things in terms of perspective that we've looked at and kind of said we're going to be doing differently. What's the first thing on your list that you're going to be taking into 2021? If you could, actually, here's a question for you. If you could start the year again, how would you warn yourself about 2020? That has a huge gratitude piece to it. And I think about it because we would have never guessed what would have happened with the global pandemic. When we came in on January, everything was still okay. By February, I think the whole world was on lockdown post-February. Now you have the chance to reset everything. Coming into 2021, it is your opportunity to get things in check. And I want to know what you're going to do, especially coming into the next 6 weeks. We're going to be asking this question every now and then and seeing where your mind is at. Masoud from India too. Yes, and shout out to Masoud, who is our regular listener from India, who gives some very, very good comments, by the way. It's really switched up a lot of things for us. When we didn't have gyms, everyone wanted to get back into a gym. When we weren't allowed out, everyone wanted to be out. There's so many factors that we can take from 2020, but what are you going to be doing to make sure that 2021 is a better year? That is reaching full time, folks, on the halftime show. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I will be back on Wednesday. And on Wednesday, we've got a guest coming in, Hannah, who is based in the UK, Saudi Arabian by origin, and massive in the fitness industry. So I can't wait to have her on the show with us. So bring your questions in for her. She's definitely someone that's been in the industry for a while and can bring a lot of knowledge to the show. That's me, Omar Duri. I'm out on the only place to be at 3, the halftime show on Pulse 95. Peace out, guys.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.